So I'll try to do a short video on this. This is a couple of little projects. Well, actually I got three because I got another one out there. But we went to New Mexico to see Cheryl's dad. While we were there, found a nice place that had, I was really looking for some native Southwest wood. They did have some exotic wood, but it was a place that sold exotic wood. So Exotic Woods of Albuquerque, I think it's called. But anyway, they had some mesquite, which actually grows in the Sonora Desert, but that is partly in New Mexico. They had some juniper too that was really pretty. Anyway, I'll flip this one over here in a minute. But here's the two little called book mats, right? So these are actually two cuts from the same piece. This stuff's really pretty. It was a little expensive for these little tiny ones. Not too bad, I guess, 26 bucks. But it got tons of crotch figure right through there and over here. I'm going to make, essentially, I think all these are going to be tables that go in my office. Which I need some tables, because at the moment I'm using an ironing board. Anyway, one of the downsides, of course, of buying real live wood is that this was all punky. It was all bug eaten. So my first little foray into this particular piece of wood was to get all the punky bug stuff out of it, which unfortunately hollowed quite a bit of it out. So, and that's fine. If you're familiar with my coffee table that I made, it had rotten spots too, but you can kind of see there's some rot right there. So essentially what it is the bugs got into it. Some little bugs that made that channel right there. They got into it, had their little feasts, lived their little lives, and did whatever. I am going to hit this with some sanding sealer, get it stabilized, and kind of go from there. Now this isn't the top. This is going to be the bottom of the table. The top has some great figure in it if I haven't drilled a hole through it. So bear with me for a second. There's the top. And I do have some punky right there too that I'm going to have to deal with. But the top has some beautiful, beautiful figure. I don't know if you guys can really see it. I can hit it with some water and you can see it just shine. But it's got some absolutely massive, beautiful figuring through here. So really nice. Let me hit it. So when you check it for punkiness, you kind of just tap around, right? A normal, healthy piece of wood. I really shouldn't use a chisel, but anyway, you just kind of tap around, and then if you hit punky, it sinks. So a lot of folks use knives for that. I got this wet earlier, just kind of look at the figure. So I got a little punky piece right here, which is probably where that's hollow, so I probably need to chisel that out. But anyway, so that'll give me something. So see how that just slides through. I'm not really pushing very hard. My chisels aren't that sharp because I've done all those projects and I haven't really sharpened them since. I mean, they're not dull, but they're not going to be. There you go, right all through. Yeah. So there's a little piece there. I was planning on doing some epoxy anyway to fill in some of these voids. I got some turquoise epoxy on the way, but anyway, this is going to be a real pretty little tabletop, like I said. I gotta watch my time, so I try to keep these under 5. Let me see if I can, in a few seconds, put some water on here, show you the figure. Bear with me for a second. I'm gonna set you down, open my little water thing here, and show you guys some magic. This is how you can see what wood looks like, and once you finish it, cheap, easy way. So see all that figure all through there? That is freaking gorgeous, all the way up into here. So that's going to be on the back wall in my room. I'm going to make a little table with drawers in it. This other part here is all kind of straight grained. But that's all your figure right through there. Got some crotch figure coming off that branch. almost some burl looking stuff. Really pretty stuff. So anyway, 5 minutes. So yep, so this is a piece of mesquite. And that's 2 other pieces of mesquite, and we're gonna make us some tables out of them here later. So just coming off the last video I had, so basically I'm gonna use some sanding sealer, some good old Minwax. I'll end up sanding this all off anyway, but since I'm not working on this like immediately, and the thickness of my wood here is different, I want to make sure I stabilize this entire piece. I'll probably go ahead and stabilize those 2 also. But yeah, so essentially just using a little bit of sanding sealer. It doesn't stain your wood at all. It just kind of goes in there, and I can be very liberal with the amounts that I put on. And what it does is it does get into that grain, and basically seal it off from it being able to transfer moisture, you know, back and forth so much. Does that make sense? So, because the biggest problem with warping wood has to do with moisture content of the wood. And as the wood naturally absorbs and heat and moisture, if it doesn't absorb it equally, the wood will move on you. And the wood naturally kind of does that. Of course, it kind of maintains its own moisture levels as it's growing, but the wood does that. It dry wood, right? So this has been kiln dried and everything. But even the furniture in your house, the moisture content of the wood, even though it's been sealed, will change a little bit over time. I really should wish I had a better brush, but I kind of don't want to waste a really nice brush on this. I just want to get it sealed up. I'm not really looking for pretty at the moment. I'm just trying to get it done. But anyway, so the problem I have with this particular piece at the moment is the fact that the other side is going to be the top. But now that I've taken all the rot away, the thicknesses of the wood are different. So it's going to expand and contract depending upon that, if that makes sense. And so I want to try to prevent it from being able to absorb moisture as much as possible to prevent it from doing that, because it can actually crack also. So, you know, that's all I'd really want is a big old pretty piece of mesquite like this is, and then have it turn around and just split right in half on me. Which is one reason why, if you know anything about milling, so lumbers, there's plenty of shows on YouTube and things you can watch, but those people that actually mill logs, they put a substance on the butt ends of the logs called anchor seal. I kind of have some of it down there because we were going to have a log, but I actually got it milled. I don't have it yet, but anyway, but they'll put that anchor seal on, and what that does is that prevents end grain checking and with cracks. So checking is just another term for cracks. This, as you can see, this wood is not even flat up here, so I'm having to kind of push this sealant into this end grain. I think, you know, when you start really working with the wood and you start touching it and playing with it and seeing what it actually looks like, and you get ideas. So I'm actually thinking, I've never really did a big pour yet, thick pour. I'm actually thinking of maybe looking at some getting some Total Boat 2-in-1 slow set epoxy that they do the river pours with. And this isn't really big enough for, you know, one of those great big river pour tables, but this is the bottom. But anyway, yeah, I'm kind of thinking maybe I'll do that. And like I said, I kind of wanted to do the whole thing in turquoise, so I may just fill this whole bottom piece, square this back up, put some masking tape across here, and then yeah, fill it full of turquoise epoxy. I don't know. We'll see. I probably need to get some up in this hole. If you notice, so what happened is the bug crawled, probably several bugs actually lived in here, a family of beetles. And more than likely, one crawled his way up there and died in the kiln drying process. And but that probably was its little home. Anyway, I'm gonna flip it over. So some more of the sanding sealer. I didn't show you this, but got rid of the punky, basically just chasing down the rotten pieces of the wood. So this actually kind of has a neat little hole. I was talking about in an earlier video, I don't know if I'm going to post any of these, but talking in an earlier video about how I may do turquoise deep pour on this. And one of the reasons why is I was already kind of figuring already get the turquoise dye on order. And I was already kind of figuring about filling in some of these bug holes with turquoise. I thought, well, that would be neat. Now that I know that I got some pretty substantial rot there underneath there, I may go ahead and do just a big deep pour on this, and then I'll have me a turquoise spot there. So I don't know. We'll let this sanding sealer do its thing. Protect the wood. Get in those end grains, and whatever grain it can get into. And you can see a little bit about what this wood's going to look like. It'll be, of course, a lot prettier once it actually put some stuff. I was planning on putting some tabletop epoxy on it, making it all good and shiny. Got a bunch of little damages here. The edges I don't know if I have to worry so much about, but since I'm being pretty liberal with this and chewing up my brush, I'll put some here on the edges just to make sure. The one thing about Mesquite is it has these big spiky spikes on it. I wouldn't say like Osage orange, but yeah, well, I mean, Osage has got spikes on it too. That's going to be kind of fun to deal with on the edges, because I don't want a table with big spikes on it that impale me every time I touch it. So we'll have to see how that works. I notice I need to get my one screw over here up. And pretty nifty. I got a big old hole right there too. I don't think I even noticed that. Oh yeah, that's where I was digging. So yeah, if I did the turquoise, and if this is the top, I think I can make that be pretty. Live edge it, Of course, I'll probably drop crap off of it. Well, I'll look tomorrow to see how much, I don't know, half gallon maybe of, I already got some Total Boat tabletop. Certainly going to use it on those. But I may see how much the 2-in-1 costs. Maybe we'll be doing a pour before we do anything, because I really don't want to be working on it too much. But that's going to be the top. It's going to be pretty. Don't you think? It's going to be a little table for my office. Little live edge. I haven't figured out which side I like. The back side, that side right there doesn't look too bad. If I can get that square. I like that hole. I got this little branch right here. I'd think about cutting it off, but if you notice, there's some beautiful figure right there. So that's not going anywhere. And then, of course, I got the live edge over here with all the little pokey spots. And there's a bunch of bug damage and crap I have to clear out right through there. That's what those are. Bug trails up underneath the bark. So, pretty neat. Beautiful piece of wood. All sorts of features and stuff on it, so we'll see. I'm going to get these all done over here. Another little short video. One of the things that's kind of interesting when you work with a piece of wood is you not only learn about the piece of wood, but you also learn about the critters that lived in the whole piece of wood. So essentially, if you kind of look here, and I don't think this is a unique grub to mesquite or anything. I think it's all the kind of bugs that live in wood. But it's really kind of neat when you kind of follow these trails along. So essentially, what happens is the bug, right? It's usually a beetle, but it goes through many stages of life, like most bugs. And so, in its larval stage, right, while it's a grub, it essentially eats the wood, and it just kind of follows along a line, and it just eats the wood, and then essentially it poops in the trail behind it. So one of the challenges that I have is this poop in this particular piece of wood. I don't know how old it is or what, but it is some solid stuff. So this grub that lived in here made some absolute granite. You can actually see some stuff I haven't cleaned out up there, and there's a little trail there. So essentially, the bug does this for a lot of reasons. One of the biggest is because its main predator, of course, is birds and woodpeckers and the such. And so it sort of, by pooping the wood, deposits after it's eaten them, behind it kind of seals off any scent that it has. It doesn't really do anything for so there's a big old piece there you can see. Kind of getting that out. So that's really my trick today, is to clean out poo, because there is a ton of it on this side of this piece of mesquite. An absolute ton of poo all over the place here, and getting it carved out, because I don't want to finish poo. You can, but it doesn't really finish very well, and of course it's kind of unstable too, right, over time. Although this stuff's pretty hard as concrete, so probably because mesquite's very hard, and also so the grub probably had to stay a little longer than it would in, say, ash or walnut or whatever. It had to stand around a little bit longer to probably chew through this stuff. Therefore, the little poo that I've had to dig out of here is friggin' tough. It is like really some tough poo. So anyway, just thought you might find that interesting. Yeah, quite the little trails all through here. And of course, they're right up underneath the bark. There's actually not much bark on this side, but yeah, they're usually right up underneath the bark. And some of them, and like maple and stuff, they'll make their way into the sapwood, but they don't usually make it into the heartwood of any tree, although they do sometimes. But anyway, so that's kind of the challenge. It's going to be really neat. What I'm going to do is fill all these with turquoise epoxy, which is going to be a challenge, trying to level all that off. But I'm going to fill all these little poo trails and bug trails with turquoise epoxy, glitz them up a little bit, and try to shade them down so they're not quite as dramatic. But yeah, it's going to be fun. This is, like I said, this stuff is pretty tough. Kind of thought I'd be done by now. Anyway, there we go. So yeah, there is a lot of bug trails I am going to have to epoxy. I guess I could leave them there. I don't know. Sorry for the shadows, but yeah, I don't know if you can see all those trails. There's tons of them. The bugger lived for a long time in here. Another big one here. Coming up and around. Up over here. Coming down here and then back. Another big channel there. You get a little hole here, and then up here on this little spike, a little hole on it too. It's kind of funny. I don't know if I actually got everything out of it yet. Tried. Anyway, still working on kind of getting the live edge smoother and debarked. I'm going to be pouring a lot more epoxy on this board than I anticipated. I was talking in an earlier video about how the bugs poo behind them. There's a good example of it. So a big old void there. You can't really tell because it's all full of poo. Poo. Really hard poo. Like really hard poo. Can't just get it with a wire brush. I've had to get in here and chisel at it with chisels and rasps and all sorts of stuff. Ugh. Mesquite's hard. I guess that makes the bug poo hard. I don't know. In any case, a little sticky there. I've got to get out. Got another one there. I was talking in one of the videos about how focus right there. About how these two grow little spikes on them. But yeah, a lot of work.